Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monday's edition of the Power Take. Today, it's going to be a lot of business discussion and getting us really prepared for that 2024. But before we do that, let's pay an ode to our founder, original show creator, Jackson Callum.
Welcome to the Power Take Live, where we discuss strategic revenue growth for your brand and business. My name is Jackson Callum. I'm your host, and we look forward to talking about what's important for your business today. Let's dive in. Business buzz. What's happening this week in business, and how does it pertain to your brand? Filtering the noise. What distractions exist in the world right now that you should stay away from so you can focus on building a profitable business model? Building with poise. What things you should be doing consistently to drive sustainable revenue growth. Talk about how to get the most out of the tools that you're using to drive your success. Tune in to the Power Takes for momentum, motivation, and massive revenue growth.
Perfect. Beautiful introduction. Now, we have a jam-packed Monday as we wind down the year that was 2023 and still is. We have to be looking at what are the things that are going to be impacting us all across the business spectrum. And so we begin our discussion around business on the economy, specifically how economists see the world shaping up in the next 24 months, specifically 2024. What economists can agree on is that there is going to be some type of slowdown, and it is a direct reflection of rising interest rates, also inflation. You're going to see economic slowdown across the board as businesses now have to look for more ways to make use of less capital. Now, when you start with rising interest rates, that's access to capital. So a lot of businesses are going to be lacking on their capital projects. For those who are familiar with capital projects and their impact, and for those who may not be, what a capital project does for a business, it allows for them to enter a new market, to develop new IP, to brace against a competitor that has entered the market. These are all of the things that, from a business perspective, have an impact on your ability to innovate. That's really what capital projects boil down to. And when you have an economic slowdown, what you're talking about is that are strained capital projects across the board. So if you're a business that services businesses, let's say, for example, you service large oil and gas companies, you're going to see a strain in the number of projects that actually get launched off the ground and completed. And so from a business perspective, you have to begin to prepare, if you are a servicer of large businesses, for those capital projects to be less than they were this year, especially around Q3, which was a bit of an aberration when you look at the Q4, Q1, and Q2 of last year. But we are looking at a 50% reduction, potentially Q1 over Q1 or Q4 over Q4. And so the businesses that are going to be in the best position to manage this particular economic downturn are going to be those that understand how to get into the door of those businesses that have the capital projects but may not have as many launched off, or how to make use of their existing capital to launch their own capital projects. And so you may have a list of capital projects that are long. I want to implement a new sales system. I would like to implement a new marketing operation. And if those capital projects now, because of rising interest rates and inflation, are not something that you can engage in, it doesn't mean you have to wipe it completely off the board. You just have to get more creative about how you leverage your existing capital. And with that creativity comes some responsibility as business owners to investigate options around how to bolster the capital position of the business. There could be, if you're in the startup community, of course, that's raising funds. If you're in the private equity community, same thing. If if you're
investors
in the
have
small
never
business community
dropped
that's
so many
looking at
times in a
other
row
capital
without there being a
sources, if venture
recession.
funding
And so
isn't
if we
in
don't have a
your particular
recession, then it'll
purview,
be kind of a
that's
dated
something like
miracle.
taking out
And the other
business
thing is
loans,
that the
making
inflation
sure that you have a
dropping is
strong
something that's
operating
consistent with a big
position
fall
so
in
that if the
demand, as you
downturn
know.
is more
I mean, there's
severe
certainly
than
not a big
projected,
increase in
that your
supply
business
under,
is not impacted
Bidenomics.
to
And
the
so if
point
there's a
of
big fall in
not
demand,
being
then prices
able
drop as well.
to
And so
survive
my
the
guess is
downturn.
that,
The
yeah, we're looking
downturn could
at a
be
recession that's
prolonged. I mean, we
probably a
don't know if
Q4,
Q1
Q1
is the
kind of thing.
beginning of a down
I mean, you
slide,
don't
or if
want
it's
to
going
be
to
the
be a
Grinch who
flat
stole
year, or if there's
Christmas,
going to
but
be a bit of a
when
bell
you look
curve
at another
inverted where we go
indicator,
down and then
Kevin,
go up, kind of like a crater. And
OPEC
so
Plus, I just
today,
think of it
as
as the
business
Saudis, but it's
leaders,
the
we
Saudis
want to
and the
be
Russians.
looking at
So they're
how
going
do
to
we
take
strengthen
another
our
million
capital
barrels per
position,
day out of
and ultimately,
production.
how do we
That will
prepare
make
end
it, I
to
think,
end
5 million
for the
plus.
possibility that
But
projects that
oil
if we're
prices have
project
come
and
down
service-based
quite a
business
lot
may not be as
from their,
bountiful or
running up
plentiful.
to 100,
But every time we
just a
have a
few months
negative in
ago
the
when
economy,
the
there's also a
Israeli war
positive.
broke out and so
There are
forth.
going to be a lot of
And
companies who have a
they're
strong
falling.
capital position
Brent
or have
crude,
made
which is
some
global crude,
cost-cutting
fell
measures like
under
layoffs
$80 a
that
barrel.
will have
Now,
some
again,
capital
to me,
available
that looks
for
like
projects.
a
It's
lot
just
of
going to be
softness in
incumbent upon the
demand
businesses,
all
the
around the
service
world.
providers, to work
Europe,
harder to demonstrate
USA,
your unique value
including China,
proposition,
Kevin Hassett.
the
It just seems
ability
like
for
there's
your business to deliver
synchronous
results beyond
drop-off in
expectations, and a
economic
high
activity.
quality customer experience. And of
Right, I think
course, in
that's
an economic
exactly right.
downturn,
And one
pricing
of
is
the
going to
things
be
that
a
I can say
major
about the
consideration.
Saudis'
Don't cut all
decision
of your
or OPEC's
margin
decision
if
on
you can
oil
win
is
on
that they have a
quality of
really
work or
big,
speed to
well-financed,
delivery. Those are
sophisticated
two
economic
things that
team,
can offset the
and they
cost
know that if
of
a recession happens, then the
services.
price of
So
oil can
look
drop
for
down, 40
opportunities
to
in
30
this coming
even,
down market
and they're worried
to
about that. If
really
they're cutting
revamp
oil
your
right now,
business
it's because they
strategy and
see
take a
global demand
holistic
softening. And I
view
think that
on how
it's
you
something that I
can
expected to happen a
leverage
little
growth
sooner. Yeah, I think you
principles
were more
to
optimistic than me, and you were right
overcome
about
the
that this year.
constrictions in the
But I think
market.
that the consumers they're out of money.
Our next topic is around how do we filter out this noise? I mean, there is just a ton of information out there right now on everything that you can think of. And when I think of noise, one of the things I think about is AI. Now, of course, ChatGPT all over the news. We have a technology segment on Friday for those who are interested in that. But what we're really talking about is what is AI going to be like for the business climate over the next 12 months? Even OpenAI COO thinks that AI is a bit overhyped. I mean, if you think about it from the standpoint of there's an AI tool for this, there's ChatGPT that's in the middle of everything. There's an AI tool for that. I mean, there's just an AI for an AI at this point. And what does that really mean for businesses, right? So in a business, what we're really looking for is the ability to leverage intelligence. I don't make a distinction between biological intelligence, myself, and an AI model because we can be trained to do the same thing. We just learn topics and then espouse on them for the benefits of our businesses. And so when we look at AI and we want to filter out this noise, we really want to talk about, is AI the right technology for the business today? It does not mean that AI is not the right technology for the business in the long term. But if you're looking at AI and you're not focused on a centralized platform and improving a couple of use cases, then what you're talking about is drinking from a fire hose. AI can get really, really, really big, really, really, really fast. And then you come to the point of realizing, wait, I don't have a genius in AI. I don't have an expert in systems, especially in the small and mid-sized business. And then that becomes this discussion point where you've churned hours of valuable business time on a technology you may not be ready to implement or have a desire to, but then have to think about your personnel strategy or your operation strategy to figure out, can you actually integrate this into your existing systems? So I would say for right now, if you do not have a strategy for AI adoption, that you have somebody guiding and you haven't reached out externally, I would put AI discussions on the back burner of the business to focus on the business of the business. AI, again, is going to be a great and wonderful technology. And as we get more mature accepting AI into businesses, companies are going to develop stronger use cases for AI. And so what you will have is the tool set of today focuses on showing you what AI can do. The tool set of tomorrow is likely going to have AI in specific instances where you can grab that particular tool implement it into the business's operations, and it begin to improve the experience one way or the other. So today, I would say if AI is not something that is a core competency of the business, or you don't have a technology center, I would filter AI down to 1 or 2 use cases at best, or give more discussion around driving revenue and driving growth with existing processes in the business. Which segues me perfectly into our Build with Poise. Now, our Build with Poise is about how do we, as business owners, business leaders, how do we grow our businesses even in the face of economic certainty? One of the more popular methodologies for growing businesses today, and it's caught like wildfire, is revenue operations. Now, for those who are not familiar with the concept of revenue operations, what we're talking about is integrating marketing, sales, customer service, and all of the other touch points that lead to a customer's journey. When you integrate to that degree, when you have your customer service team informing your marketing and sales team what they're seeing on the front line, and you're using the data from all of these systems to make decisions, you are as integrated and aligned with the market as Apple is, as Samsung is. That is the principles. Revenue operations is a principle that the largest companies, Fortune 500 and Fortune 100, all the way down to Fortune 1000, they engage in on a consistent basis. It's all about integrating the activities of the business to give the right insights for growth. Growth is like prospecting for oil. For those not familiar with the analogy, you buy a plot of land and you begin to figure out where on your plot of land there could be oil, and you have to tap and you have to drill down. And sometimes you drill and miss, and sometimes you drill and miss, and then you hit. And then what you find is that there are a set of processes that allowed for that hit in terms of finding that land, in terms of setting up that oil rig operation, and of course, tapping into the actual oil. And that is a set of processes that I could then go into marketing, right? So then you find your ideal client profile, where those clients are going to be located, and then begin the process of figuring out what tactics in your business attract them. And then you integrate that into the sales process. How do we then take that attraction and turn it over into actual action on the part of the customer? And then there's the support, the retention. That is a top to bottom, end-to-end experience that we as business leaders must look at integrating all the way into our operations. Revenue operations is exceptionally hot in the market in terms of a skill set. Your revenue operations leaders are likely going to come from sales leadership, they're going to come from marketing leadership, or they're going to come from customer service leadership. These are going to be people that have seen systems working end to end in their respective organizations and understand how those systems fed into the others. That's going to be your great revenue opportunity. And so as you look over the horizon, you are going to want to look for businesses that specialize in helping you integrate your systems, your revenue systems, your speaking systems, marketing communications, for example, your CRM system, your social media accounts. It is a lot more to business now in the 21st century than it was in the previous century. We have a lot of tools. And of course, as in previous segment, while I will ask for people to taper their AI filtering, it is important that you understand the AI capabilities of the systems you've invested in. For example, if you are a HubSpot user, you have AI capabilities that are now what they call native inside of HubSpot. So while you may not have to invest in a separate AI, you are going to want to look at the systems that power your revenue operations and what AI capabilities those providers of those systems have created for you to utilize to help you integrate your experience. When you are tightly aligned with the customer experience end to end, what you are not surprised at is when customers fall off, when sales decline, and those types of impacts to the financial health of the business, because you're looking at it in real time and you can see adjustments when the revenue starts ticking too far this way over too many periods of time. Let's say it's a month, it could be 2 months, whatever the KPIs and OKRs, KPIs, of the business are, you would be able to then tie them into the revenue health of the organization. So I would say in 2024, to build with poise, you're going to want to look at a holistic integration of your revenue systems in the end. And revenue operations is the way to go in order to extract the growth principles of the business. And finally, our last thing is always a spotlight on tools. We want to give you an opportunity to understand what tools could help you extract the value inside of that business. So we are looking at a tool that we have a lot of affinity for, and the tool is called Make. I'm not sure if you guys all are familiar with Zapier. Some people are. I won't assume everybody is. So I'll talk about the differences between Make and Zapier. What Make is doing is Make is making it absolutely use case specific. And with you having use case specific tools, you can then define objectives that you are trying to automate in the business. One of the areas that Zapier has a bit of a challenge with is it's up to you as a user to understand the use cases kind of in the end. And now it's a much more prolific in terms of widely adopted platform. But where I really love Make is that Make has these well-defined use cases around marketing, around productivity, around AI, sentiment analysis, really whatever it is you're looking to understand how to leverage automation and AI for. This business Make, this productivity platform would be perfect for you to evaluate how do I leverage these core technologies in the market to achieve an objective that I have for my business. Always in business is technology a conduit to a business objective. It is never about the technology itself. And this is one of the things I love about Make is that Make is absolutely focused on the business outcomes. Each of these, if you go down into the use case, it teaches you how to build end on end, how to create the Google spreadsheet step by step, how to create the Make scenario. And what you will find in these scenarios that we're talking about is that there are so many applications of a automated delivery of task in the business. So we're going to tie it all together today as we started off with the doom and gloom projections of economists, but then we end with the opportunity created by technology. And so in business, we invest either intellectual capital, human resource capital, or technological capabilities to achieve objectives. And if we are strained with our ability to hire our human resources because of our capital pools being affected by interest rates and inflation, then we want to look for automation platforms. And we don't mean unhumanized automation where, where our experience may be somebody sending us a long message we know they didn't type. What we're talking about is actual productivity enhancements, connecting systems to systems to get them to talk. The concept of revenue operations is the same concept as integrated operations in a business. How do I get my calendar synced with my CRM so that I can understand what is my actual booking rate? When I send somebody my booking page, how often do they book? Let's say you're converting at 30%. Well, then you need to send 100 people to your booking page to get 30 meetings. Now, if you're integrated all the way through, then those meetings can be followed up by many other use cases that Make allows for the business, including integrations into ChatGPT. I'm not one of those who wants to shy away from the experience of ChatGPT. I want to share with you that platforms like make it easy for you to now leverage AI should you have that on your business roadmap. This is one of the greatest tools that you will have at your disposal because it unifies automation for the business. You do not have to go and find multiple platforms or multiple technologies that automate your workflows. You can do it all from one stand-up platform. So I would say from a business perspective, as we look to understand how do we navigate this next 12 to 24 months of economic uncertainty, as Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, calls it, one of the most uncertain and dangerous times in the history of the world, as we haven't seen this level of conflict globally since the start of World War II. Now, I'm not here to prognosticate and project that is where we're going, but we do need to understand as business owners, we have to be prepared for any eventuality, including a massive disruption in the capital markets. And how do we survive? And that is how becoming lean, making sure and streamlining and integrating our processes, and leveraging businesses that specialize in helping integrate holistic growth as a principle. Holistic is end to end, from the time a customer comes on board to the time their first customer service ticket is closed out. Do they have a consistent brand experience end to end? Does their ad experience, does their retargeting experience look just like their onboarding experience? That is important and imperative from a business perspective to navigate an economic downturn. Speaking from experience, I was selling technology solutions in 2008, 2009, when the big recession hit, the economic crisis. And the way I was able to weather that is that I changed my strategy from focusing on technology to focusing on green technology. So I went from selling to the IT director to the CFO of the company, because the CFO has the ability to approve capital projects. So if I could explain that there were tax rebates associated with green technology, now my IT director, my CIO, can get that technology expenditure because it's going to come right back around on tax rebates. That's the creativity that exists in all of us as we navigate this uncertain business climate. And myself, the team here at First Class Business, and Vision Pros will all be here, along with many, many others in the business community, great business coaches, to help you all navigate this downturn market, that if it doesn't end up being a downturn and you've taken those steps to bolster your company against a potential downturn, then what you're talking about is being prepared to unlock tremendous growth because you've already leaned the organization out. What I hope that means is that you're looking at your existing resources and looking for ways to multiply them, for ways for them to become a value add to the company, not necessarily to reduce expenses right away. Now, if you're in that particular season of business, then you absolutely want to invest in making sure you have the right technological and automations capabilities to reduce the cost of operations. I truly, truly appreciate each of you for showing up today. Thank you for all the comments, all of the emojis. I appreciate it. It's really, really good. My first week on the job as CEO of Media Productions. And before I get off, I love tipping my cap to the man that made it possible, Mr. Callum.
Welcome to the Power Take Live, where we discuss strategic revenue growth for your brand and business. My name is Jackson Callum. I'm your host, and we look forward to talking about what's important for your business today. Let's dive in. Business buzz. What's happening this week in business, and how does it pertain to your brand? Filtering the noise. What distractions exist in the world right now that you should stay away from so you can focus on building a profitable business model? Building with poise. What things you should be doing consistently to drive sustainable revenue growth. I talk about how to get the most out of the tools that you're using to drive your success. Tune in to the Power Takes for momentum, motivation, and massive